All right. Hey, everyone. It's Investment Tuesday from home territory back in the United States of America. Happy to be home. And we have a jam-packed Investment Tuesday for you. And it covers some deep ground because you can be on a plane for a couple of days and the world can change. I had internet on the plane for the most part, and I was like, "Really? The Elon Trump? Really? Really? Whoa! What is going on?" Anyway, there's a lot of commentary that has passed since, and it almost seems like old news already, which just shows you what a crazy time we live in the sense that the news cycle just is merciless. It just moves on. You got to provide fresh chum to the sharks, and it moves on. But you're gonna get my 2 cents on the Elon Trump blow up, what it means for Tesla stock. My Substack that is published today is going to cover that as well. So check into that. Then, upon arrival, we've had some movement in crypto with, you remember I was talking about stable coins, right? I made this YouTube video about a couple of weeks ago, and we have a big development. The Circle IPO came, and I cited that right in the video that we got this thing coming. It's likely to create excitement, and it has. I'm going to go through some of this IPO, what it's done, which is wild and crazy. Then circling back to some things, which is that the trade deals deadlines are coming, and we're starting to hear news back and forth, including stuff about rare earths, which tells you that that's clearly where we're focused on. And remember the rare earths video, hey, we provide value here, right? On the YouTube channel, right? Stable coins, rare earth. And then I think it's related to the Circle IPO. We're seeing some, what's called animal spirits in Bitcoin and crypto. What's animal spirits? People wanting the thing to move, to go up now, right? Okay, so that's what I'm going to cover in Investment Tuesday today. We got to keep the lawyers happy, fat, fed, and happy, as I like to put it. So here comes the legal disclaimers and disclosures, which is that this video and the content from ATG Digital is not investment or financial advice. It is presented to you as my opinion, our take, our view of the world. You use it as information, engagement, entertainment, whatever you choose to do with it. It is your responsibility because it is your money. All ATG Digital content may contain errors, oversights, and mistakes. Understand that investment operations, which is buying or selling any investment, has significant risks and can lead to the loss of your principal. Next, I, the owners, employees, contractors of ATG Digital, we own, we trade, we transact in the securities that are mentioned in this video and all of the content from ATG Digital. I'm out of breath here. I'm trying to move through this fast because, regular viewers are like, oh my God, again. Hey, what can I do? This is necessary because, inevitably somebody's like, I didn't know, Paul. I thought you were my financial advisor. Well, no, I'm not. I'm just someone that produces investment content and produces investment ideas that we sell for subscriptions, right? Not guaranteed. Anyway, we do not take money from managements of companies. This is done. They will pay you if you recommend companies and promote companies. Crypto sponsors will also do the same thing. We do not take money to recommend stocks or crypto tokens for better and for worse, for gain or for loss. We are independent. We are unique. We are us. We are ATG. All right. Next, the free content we publish, which is quite a lot. The Substack goes out every open market day. The Ballman Speculating podcast comes out about every 2 to 3 weeks. YouTube, I am on every single week for the most part. And then we've got Dean and Dan that also are now ramping up coverage. So we got a lot going on with our content. Social media, I'm most active on X. We are second most active, I suppose, on Facebook. And then Instagram is a distant third. Instagram is, Yeah, I mean, it's mostly for other things, right? I mean, there's just not a large investment audience there. All right, but you don't need my social commentary on that. Finally, if you're looking for subscriptions, you are searching for, well, where do I get follow up on all these ideas? You told me about this, but I don't know what happened. If you want follow up, when we're selling, ongoing commentary, well, then you go to atgdigital.media, you subscribe to one of the various tears, not the tears, as tears of joy sometimes, but not those kinds of tears, like levels. That's what I mean. And then you will get that follow up. You will get whenever we choose to sell on some of these ideas that we bring to you week in, week out. All right. Dean covered some of this in his last video, which was posted more timely on the Elon Trump blow up. So I'm not going to go through this in long detail. I can only say I think I'm like in the majority that is like be like, okay. Well, I think we're like I think Tesla stockholders, and I am one, and Tesla is in our silver tier portfolio. I think we're tired of like being just like a whacked in this direction, then whacked in that direction. Tesla sales coming apart for because of Elon's political activities. I think if he wants to do that, he should probably do it a little bit more quietly, so it doesn't affect the Tesla stock, so it doesn't affect the Tesla brand. And bottom line to it, which is like, I think like for the very first time, Elon probably bit off more than he could chew with President Trump. I think that you never want to bite the hand that's feeding you. And it was quite interesting that through this entire thing, how quickly it got to the bottom line, which is that President Trump was like, hey, by the way, you get a lot of subsidies from the US government, which is hundreds of millions of dollars in these credits that Tesla receives. These are environmental credits. And then, of course, SpaceX is I mean, almost all of their money comes from the federal government. And so then the knives are out, if you will, for Elon. But I'm going to say this, or just that Elon's going to survive. He's a big boy. He's going to, lick his wounds for a little bit. Hopefully, melts a little bit into the shadows in terms of politics. I would, if I was advising him, I'd be like, take it a bit easy. Yeah, time to, maybe, post cute memes, Dogecoin memes, help us out with Dogecoin, maybe with crypto, go back to that, try and stay out of trouble for a bit. Let Tesla stock get bid up because there's exciting stuff going on in Tesla stock, right? We've got the cyber cab, right? I mean, that is, ongoing. And as someone that has full self-driving, the software on 2 cars, I can tell you it is already amazing. All right. I mean, I would be really close to saying like, I think you can kind of like press a button today and go to many places. It's clearly not at 100%, but I don't know if Waymo is at 100% either. All right. I mean, it's very, very, very close. And obviously, you kind of need to go and put those robo-taxis, cyber cabs into operation first in a small way and then scale up. And that will obviously tell you some of the problems. Nonetheless, I believe it's safer than anything that we've had before. And certainly, I'm going to say probably in the vast majority of cases, the self-driving software is a better driver and a safer driver than I am. It pays more attention, it can see more things, it is more cautious, it just drives better, safer, yes, slower as well, but nonetheless, it works. And the robo-taxi autonomy innovation, yeah, the capability is huge. I think ARC Innovation has thrown out a number of something like $34 trillion. I mean, hey, ARC's good at throwing out big numbers, and that's fine, right? Either way, it's a big number. And it's a big number. Why? Well, because transportation is a basic element of human life. right? You need transportation to go to work. You need transportation to go pick up your kids from school. You need transportation to go shopping. You need transportation to go to your doctor. You need transportation for everything. It is fundamental, basic to modern human life. And if you can, shrink down the cost to what we're talking about, which I think is like 20 cents a mile from something like 80 cents or a dollar. I mean, so like a fifth. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have people take it, right? I mean, if you make something cheap, right, those innovations are the ones that take off. You make it cheap, you make it accessible. Obviously, it needs to work. And whoever the leader is, yeah, the stock market will reward that company. And at this point, Tesla makes cars already, right? So they don't have to find a way to integrate their software with like a different company's cars, etc. Right? All they got to do is essentially be like, hey, is this thing ready? It probably has to jump some regulatory hurdles. We obviously have a much more regulatory friendly government in place at the federal level. Robo taxis are already operating in California, I believe in Arizona, I believe in I think in Texas. I'm not 100% sure. So I mean, it's already begun, right? This is not like a brand new innovation where everybody's like, we don't know anything about it. I mean, Waymo runs in San Francisco, I don't know, hundreds of robo taxis, and people use it regularly. So we've gone through the initial thing where people are always against something new, always point out how, well, what if this happens? We're kind of gone through that. So though this is why Elon needs to be a little quiet, make nice, sink into the background a little bit, because yeah, the regulatory stuff, I mean, yeah, the federal government could make life a little bit difficult for Tesla if they wanted to, right? And I think that the message has been received, because Elon apparently over the last day, from what I have read, has deleted some of the most incendiary posts that he put up on X. Obviously, President Trump is no shrinking violet. He has just gone straight out and beyond the subsidies threat, if you will. He's also gone out there. He's like, listen, you take this any further, there's going to be consequences. And yeah, I don't think if you're Elon, you may be the wealthiest man in the world, but love him or hate him, President Trump, as president of the United States, is kind of like the most powerful person in the world, certainly in the United States, and certainly someone that can alter what happens with Elon's companies, all of Elon's companies. I mean, that's Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, Boring Company. I can't think of XAI. I mean, all these companies are subject to regulation. They operate in the United States and are the source of Elon's wealth. So, and Elon's wealth is the source of the power that he would like to exude. But there's obviously limits to everything, and I believe that Elon has learned kind of like how far wealth goes. I mean, wealth doesn't always give you power. Power doesn't always give you wealth. So that would be my 2 cents on this, which is that I believe that Elon has probably realized the limits of what he can get out of being associated in politics, and that to the extent that Elon, gets the message. And you remember, Elon often creates, his own like whirlwind of chaos, right? And he himself has said that sometimes he sort of like almost needs it, that he almost functions to some extent better in it. And hopefully this is one of these cases. So if that's right, then, those opportunities when he's done this in the past, I mean, remember when, the SEC went after him for what he said about, remember, funding secured, at $420 from Saudi Arabia. All right. That was problem number one. Obviously, in 2018, near bankruptcy with the launch of the Model 3. So chaos and trouble and volatility seem to follow Elon and Tesla. Still, in my opinion, Elon, one of a kind. We will remember him long after he's gone. He will have made a big impact, and the EV industry would not exist without him. Self-driving, autonomy, robotaxis would not exist without him. And then there's all the other innovations that are there. Obviously, Optimus robot. That is the next thing. And then there's solar power and all these things. So bottom line, when you look at it, I'm not going to recommend selling Tesla stock. I would say if you don't own enough, you want to own some, slowly just go and buy in, knowing that, there will be more volatility, but we do have big events, big economic events coming that is going to drive demand. I mean, if the robo-taxis, they're going to take off. It's just a matter of when and how quickly. So if it happens very quickly, suddenly people will be putting out big price targets for Tesla stock, 500, 700, 1,000, all these numbers. Then they start to report big numbers. Then the enthusiasm goes the other way. And suddenly Tesla's making new all-time highs. And if you sold out for all this, then you're sad that you did. All right, moving on to the next thing, which is the Circle IPO. And in case you haven't heard about the Circle IPO, this is Circle, CRCL. Yeah, you can't see that. It's called the Circle Internet Group. And just for some context, you can see there on the right-hand side, it says 52-week range, $31. So that was the IPO price. I think it might have been 32. I think these records might be wrong, but maybe it was 31. And you can see that today, which is, I'm making this on Monday, June 9th, 2025, for posterity, it reached a high of 138.57. So 31 to 138.57, obviously at the high. Let me, launch my calculator quickly. And so 138 divided by 31. So that's a gain of 345% from the IPO price. 345%, right? So, I mean, what's this Circle Internet Group? Well, if you track back to my video that I did a couple of weeks ago on stablecoins, I talked about Circle Group, that they were coming IPO, and it is going to drive a mania, a hype moment for stable coins. And step one is here. In other words, the IPO has come and people are going crazy for it. People are going wild for it. 345% in 3 days. It came IPO on, essentially on Thursday, in the middle of the day. So 2 days later, it's hit a high of $138. The market capitalization is $25 billion. So, there's some serious excitement that is happening here. There's a lot of commentary that is going on, but I will say this is also the first time in a while. I think the nearest thing to the kind of excitement that Circle is bringing is when we were pondering whether or not when the Bitcoin ETF was going to come. There was a lot of skepticism about that. And then, into it coming, Bitcoin started to move higher, started to push higher. And you could sense the animal spirits. What are the animal spirits? In other words, people feel like, I want in. I don't really care what, the experts are saying, which the experts, of course, will, if something moves 345%, it's pretty predictable what the experts are going to say. We're like, this is moved too far, too fast. And that's all true. Is Circle going to sustain its gains forever? I don't really know. It's moved very fast. It's hard to know what exactly people are discounting. Are they discounting that Circle is going to be like, a world coin? In other words, if you travel, I just came back from Southeast Asia, Tether, which is a stable coin issued by a private company with something like $160 billion, right? Like left in Tether, right? I mean, it's widely accepted all around the world. I mean, you can use Tether anywhere. Right? It is like a global dollar backed currency that is on the blockchain and that travels on the blockchain, and you can send that to anybody for very little money. It is instant. And USDC, which is what Circle produces or has created, is similar, except that it is fully within all the regulations that apply so far. There are new regulations that are potentially coming this year. However, it is more regulated than Tether. It is, has some legal protection, has has audited financials. And now it is a publicly traded company, so those financials will be released every 3 months. The CEO and CFO have to sign off on it. So there's more protections there with Circle than there is with Tether. So are people pricing that, hey, this is the next Tether that, is just a hop, skip, and a jump to getting, they already have, something like 40-50 billion dollars that is sitting in USDC. Has already taken off. Could they get to 100 billion? Could they get to 200 billion? Could they get to 500 billion? Could they get to a trillion? Is that what people are anticipating? It's a possibility. Obviously, we can speculate. We don't know for sure. However, if you see Circle stock continuing to like rocket higher to 150, 200, 250, then you know what people are betting. You're betting that they have some kind of like a semi-monopoly. In other words, while there are many stable coins, that this is going to capture the huge market share, and that's what people are pricing. Now, I mean, personally, I don't really know for sure. I mean, one of the reasons I thought initially why Circle stock was rocketing higher is that I had read that I think initially they were only planning to issue in the IPO 10% of the shares outstanding, but it turns out they've actually pushed out a lot of shares. 34 million shares are issued, as you can see on my X post, which is 43% of all the shares outstanding. And I didn't even count the 5% that they give the underwriters of IPOs some latitude, so that to be able to do some price control, etc. So if you include that, it's actually closer to 50%. So sometimes when you see these big moves, it's because there's not a lot of stock out there, and it's a kind of like a manipulated move higher. However, if you've got nearly 50% of the stock sitting out there already, and the thing has moved by 300%, you definitely have to sit there and be like, maybe the folks that are buying, maybe they're onto something. We won't know for sure, and it's going to be difficult for us to add Circle to any of our portfolios, having with such a huge move. Where if we decide we're going to put it in, we're going to need a little bit more time to be like, okay. I mean, I'd like to get it at a lower price. Obviously, I'd like to see their full financials at a quarter, which will come sometime in early December, which is about the same time that the lockup expires from insiders. So, but here's, this Circle IPO is definitely driving some excitement in crypto land across the board. And you can kind of see it with, I want to make sure I'm showing the right tab here. Yep. You can see it here that I believe that this excitement is driving money into crypto in general. So crypto funds, and what they're talking about funds, we're talking about ETFs. The big ETFs are the ones on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Hit a record high in May, right? And you can see that the excitement really, came in. So it says in May, right, they drew in $7 billion. bringing total assets under management to 167 billion. I mean, wow. I mean, just understand that the Bitcoin ETF launched what? At the beginning of last year. The Ethereum ETF launched, after that. So, I mean, 160 billion has come in like barely 2 years. So, there's definitely movement happening here for crypto and Bitcoin. I believe that the news about Circle and stable coins is going to drive even more interest. Any interest in any kind of crypto will kind of like reverberate and funnel its way through to all kinds of things. At ATG Digital, if you're a subscriber, you will have seen that, today, Monday, you're watching this video on Tuesday, we put on a series of trades. I was like, listen, if Circle coins are going to be big, I want in on it. I want you guys in on it. I want you guys to make big money on it. So we put on an option trade in the platinum tier. We added a stablecoin issuer to the gold tier. We added a stablecoin issuer to silver tier. So, I mean, we already have, a bunch of stablecoin exposure. So, all of these things point to stuff that, is I think going to end up becoming like a big, big, big deal. So that's the second thing, which is like the Circle IPO is driving excitement, animal spirits, essentially money, liquidity to push into, stable coin related stocks, crypto, where you can see that excitement starting to push into Bitcoin. Bitcoin prices not quite at all-time highs, but like, yeah, we're within like, a few $1,000s of it, right? And we were just at $100,000 amid the Elon Trump brouhaha, right? I mean, that was a sudden. I mean, why would people sell Bitcoin into that? I have no idea, but they did. Okay, enough about that. Let's move on to the last thing that I want to talk about, which is the trade deals and what's going on over there. So, all right, let me move the tab along here to that, which is that I told you earlier that there are two deadlines that matter, right? One is July 8th and one is August 14th. July 8th is for all the countries other than China, and August 14th is for China, right? And President Trump and his team, sort of following along. President Trump's, most famous book is The Art of the Deal. He knows that, while everyone says like, it takes 1 year and it takes all this, he knows that you need a deadline and you need to push if you want anything to happen, right? And you have to push this thing along very quickly. Otherwise, people will delay. People will be like, we need more time. We need a committee. We need this. We need that. So you can see here that, there's also like within this deadline, the U.S. is like, get a better deal by coming in a little bit early, right? So these deals, thus far, remember, we only have one deal with the United Kingdom. Right, one deal, right? And the United Kingdom, I'm going to say, hey, no insult to all our British friends, but we just don't do that much trade with the United Kingdom. So this is not a deal that really matters, right? I mean, it's so small, and I think we might even have like a surplus with them. I don't really know, but either way, with everyone else, we still need to make deals for everything to work. And at least with China, the trading, if you will, the negotiating, if you will, seems to be focusing on rare earths. And I don't really know, like, like the timing of like the Elon Trump brouhaha, the disclosure by GM, Ford, etc., that they were running out of these rare earths to make cars, which would bring their production lines to a halt. There was no, mention of Tesla didn't mention that they were running out of it. However, the timing of it must suggest that maybe this was also going on in the background that Tesla didn't want to tell people. Who knows? But the China negotiation seems to be very much about these rare earths. And I have noticed that the three stocks that I mentioned on about the rare earths, yeah, they have started to rocket higher, right? In other words, stock market investors are like, yeah, well, if this trade deal doesn't happen, we don't have rare earths, there are definitely going to be economic consequences for us. I mean, we are very dependent on rare earths from China. Truthfully, most of the world is. I mean, there's almost nobody, while many countries have the earths themselves in the ground, it is the processing and refining that China has a virtual monopoly on, and that we are very rapidly trying to speed up by, providing all kinds of incentives for companies to like scale up now. However, even in the best case scenario, I mean, these are not something that you can just scale up in a week, a month, or even a year. You're going to need a couple of years at minimum, right? I mean, because we have so many more regulatory requirements. We are so much more environmentally conscious. So those things are just going to take more time in a democracy versus a one-party state. And so one way or the other, I mean, we need the US production of these rare earths to move faster. We would obviously get a better deal if we had some of the supply already in the United States, or at other countries where we know that we could make better deals with. But rare earths in China are clearly going to be where it is. So I think that as like the deadline gets closer, you're going to see some of those rare earth stocks, and go and watch my video on it. I'm going to start to see them move up as people begin to price like, well, what if? And even if they made a deal, they're going to be like, this is clearly a massive vulnerability that we don't want. And yeah, people will be like, start to be like two prices, which is like a secure supply chain of rare earths from the United States or from French short countries. Probably, people be willing to pay a higher price. Why? Well, because they're not at the mercy of China that can choose to cut it off if they want to. Right. So these rare earth stocks, I think, could get, bid up like into the deal. And while, there'll probably be some sell off, which is, normal in the, buy the rumor, sell the news. But even after that, those are going to be in bull markets, I think, for some period of time. We're not going to have excess supply of rare earths in the United States or in French short countries anytime soon. I mean, it took us 20 years to essentially hand this over to China. It's going to take us more than 2 or 3 years to bring, it all back. All right. So that's sort of like a wrap up of what has been a very, very eventful week. The Elon Trump blow up, on Tesla, the Circle IPO, and sort of like its impact across stable coins and crypto and stocks in related to it. I mean, even the crypto miners have been moving higher. And then the trade deal beckoning. We're about a month away from the trade deals with the rest of the world. About 2 months and 6 days away from the China deal, which we can see is being shaped by the rare earth situation. So those stocks are moving higher. All right. And that's Investment Tuesday for you. Don't have a single recommendation, but there's obviously like a whole bunch littered through this Investment Tuesday, which is obviously Tesla on a buy the dip. I'm not going to say buy the Circle IPO because I think it's going to be pretty volatile. Even if it goes higher. So people, I don't really want people like, Paul, you told us to buy it. I lost 50%. I mean, IPO trades pretty volatile because people don't know the stock very well. There's going to be profit taking by people that got in at the IPO, etc. But I will say that the nature of markets is that people are going to hunt down other stable coin plays and go and be like, well, that one is cheaper, that one is more liquid, that one hasn't gone up so much, and they will go into that and watch my previous video to get our picks. Subscribe to ATG Digital. We're all in on the stable coin game, and we got like stocks across in the silver tier. We've got one, but we've got more in gold tier and even more in diamond tier. So check those out. Then with the trade deal deadlines, there's a whole series of themes here that will move. I mean, obviously rare earths, but then there's all the manufacturers, which is our Made in America theme, right? I mean, the more tariffs there are, and the higher the number, the more many of those will move as people anticipate that those companies are going to take market share from companies that import whatever it is from China or from other places. All right. That is the end. That is actually the end. So I want to thank you all for watching this Investment Tuesday. Check out atgdigital.media. That's where you can get subscriptions. And this is Paul saying thank you for watching Investment Tuesday, and bye-bye.